It took some 100,000 man-hours to build and cost $30 million all to create some 18th century magic and romance at sea.
That's right, and we're talking about a Swedish traditional style ship called the Götheborg, which was modeled after the original, built back in 1783. And it is docked here in Singapore at the moment and is on an around-the-world journey, retracing its ancestors' tracks.
And we have with us this morning in our studio the captain of the ship, Peter Kaaling, and a Singapore volunteer, and Sivasothi. Good morning, guys. All I can think of is I want to take out my sword and kind of do a Pirates of the Caribbean, some swashbuckling action, you know. But, Captain, tell us. I mean, you've been on this trip for quite some time now. How did it all begin?
Well, it all began about 1986 when some divers were diving on the wreck. It actually sank 1745. It was built 1738. And they, after diving on 5 years on the wreck, they decided, what shall we do now? And they said, let's build a model. And what scale shall we use for the model? Well, 1:1 is a good scale. So let's build a replica.
Did they plan to actually sail the ship, or they thought we'll just build it first?
First was building, and then what shall we do with the ship? We must sail to China, do the voyage again.
And obviously, and before we get to you, Siva, I mean, it must have been quite an emotional journey for you, because you are really reliving a moment back in history.
Yeah, absolutely.
How does that feel?
It's great, and you get a very big admiration of the both shipbuilders and the sailors at that time.
So, Siva, tell us, how did you get involved with all this? How did you know that this ship even existed?
Well, I know, it's like a typical Singaporean stuck behind a desk, bogged down with work.
Surfing while at work, is that what? Okay, no.
And a phone call came, and they said there's a chance to be invited aboard a ship, 18th century. Would you want to go? But you have to give your answer very soon, almost within 24 hours, and you'll be away for 3 weeks. And I thought about it for about 5 minutes, and I said, I have to go.
I mean, which cities have you visited? And based on my limited experience at sea, I mean, it sounds romantic, but once you get out there, it's quite a challenge, isn't it? Both emotionally, physically. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I was on the ship just for 3 weeks. I flew out to Hong Kong and joined them for the leg back to Singapore. And, you know, a typical day, the volunteer crew is divided into 3 watches. And so we take 4-hour shifts, and I have a 12 midnight to 4 a.m. shift. So someone will come at 11:30 and gently sort of wake you up, tell you about what the deck conditions are like, and then you crawl up 2 levels up to the deck, still half asleep, and it's completely dark. And then the wind wakes you up, and then your watch leader says, well, you know, we're going to have to take down this sail or reef that sail, and you're climbing up the rigging, and the whole ship is moving, and
And Captain, I imagine, you know, with all these new navigational skills and technology out there, this ship, because it is a replica of the original thing of the 18th century, is it more difficult to navigate? I mean, so when the seas go into a more rougher...
Is it fully replicated? Do you have any modern technology?
No, well, this actually is 2 ships in one. One old, the rig and the hull is exact copy of the first one. But then inside we have modern technology. So we have the radar and GPS and again.
Any memorable experiences so far?
Well, for me the most challenge was from South Africa to Australia, going down in the roaring 40s, the very famous or ill-famed waters, where we were just ourselves for 42 days. And a couple of days after we had left South Africa, there was no way to return. We couldn't turn the ship. There was no helicopter that reached us. We were just on our own.
And the thing is, I believe there are 80 crew members, right?
Yeah.
And 50 of them are volunteers.
Yes.
So, which means have you, for example, Siva, have you had experience before on a ship? Do you know how to work the mechanisms, or were you trained?
We were trained and quite quickly, and we joined the rest of the crew, but there were 4 Singaporeans with no sailing experience.
Oh dear.
No seamanship. Yeah, definitely seasickness almost killed them. But the Swedish crew, a lot of Swedes have some sailing experience from when they were young, but never on a ship like this, definitely.
And give us an idea,
Swap
in the middle
the
of
dicks.
nowhere, what do you do? Do you eat fish or what do you do?
Do you fish? How you like fish?
we fish also, but that is not enough for everybody's food. But we have good cooks, we have 2 professional cooks, we have a freezer and so on. So we don't need to have livestock aboard like they had in the 18.
And what about the reception every time you dock at a new city?
Yes, that's always a great reception. And
any memorable moments there? Any city that left you with a lasting impression because of their reception or?
Well, Guangzhou was the most extraordinary, the canton, the reception, because that was the main goal for us. Because the old East India Company, they went to Guangzhou. That was the only port that was open for trading at that time.
Oh, I see. What about you, Siva?
Most memorable experience? Well, it was when we set sail from Hong Kong, and the seas were quite rough. About 2/3 the crew was seasick. And when you climb up the rig at night and are trying to tie ropes, and the sea is churning around you, but you know, it's very exciting. So you're really glad to be there. And the Swedes on board, they're very good, they're very professional, and they were helping us along because everything was in Swedish, so we were learning names of the ship in Swedish. Yeah, so that was quite fun.
But you know, sorry. I mean, when the boat is going upside down, going topsy turvy, you're really everybody around you going very, very seasick. How do you cope with that?
Well, I had a bad time, but about 2 days later, you sort of adapt. They always tell you, don't worry, this is going to be over, and you feel like you're going to die, but 2 days later you're fine and you're up with the rest of the crew and everything's okay. You adapt to it.
I was just going to ask, just to give us some idea, I mean, how large is this ship? I mean, if we could, in terms of a tall building, how many stories high would it be in terms of the length?
In terms of the length, well, let's say
10 stories high?
10 stories high, something like
10 stories
that.
high? Okay.
And
And what about the height? So if you have to climb up the mast all the way to the top?
Yeah, it's 47 meters in the
Wow.
top flagpole.
Okay. Do people still have to literally climb?
Yes.
And I mean, I imagine that maintaining such a ship would be quite a challenge. And can you tell us?
Yes, that's the biggest challenge to the maintenance, because the rig is a living rig. It's all natural fiber, natural materials, no nylon, no dacron, nothing like that. So it's
So
really
Siva walks around with a cube of super glue, kind of. Okay. I'm kidding. Well, thanks very much, guys, for coming this morning. Have a good stay in Singapore
And you're
good
off
trip.
to next where?
Chennai in India.
Okay, well,
That
good
should be
luck
exciting
on
too.
that journey there. All right, we've been speaking to Captain Peter Kaaling and also Siva on the historic Swedish ship called the Götheborg. And if you want a piece of the action, well, the ship is docked right here in Singapore's Sivasothi until tomorrow.
That's right. So make your way there. Best to drive to the ship and not take a boat there. But anyway, we'll leave you with some pictures of the ship. This is Primetime Morning, this Monday, the 8th of January. I'm back tomorrow with another show.
And have a brilliant morning.
Bye-bye.